Yesterday, I gave my thoughts on Wuthering Waves 3.5, and whilst the presentation of the live stream was good as it can get, also we're hit with a brand new zone in terms of content. I think it's a solid 10 out of 10. We get a brand new zone that is not only a pretty good, solid thing to want to explore, but also hit with very powerful nostalgia, because when you remember where we came from and where we started, it's very hard not to feel nostalgic. And nostalgia is a very powerful thing, man. It makes things very delicious. You know, it's a good reminder of where Wuthering Waves was, especially if you're day one player. It will hit the best because you get to see how things were and how things became. You remember that the game wasn't what it is today. Remember the polish, it's no longer buggering waves anymore. We have Wuthering Waves now. Hells yeah. And I think the thematics, the characters, and everything is all a solid 10 out of 10. I think as a gamer, and the experience you're about to have, solid 10 out of 10. However, in terms of the gacha aspect, like the freebies, certain qualities of life in the sense of the team select menu still being 3 pictures that move, freaking login event is still 5 standard, 5 gold pools. What the hell is even that? We also have 50-50 system still being in the goddamn game, right? Some of these things, and also lack of freebies. The kickback event is only available for the 1.x characters. No buffs as of yet for the old characters, where the new thematics is supposed to be for characters like those. I think this would have been the perfect opportunity for them to finally introduce buffs to old characters. Looking at something like Honkai Star Rail or Zenless Zone Zero, etc., buffs are already being made. Even stupid Genshin Impact, with their lazy ass devs, are giving buffs to old units. Well, granted, well, Genshin Impact is like a 6.0 or something. It's like fair, but the first buff to older units in Honkai Star Rail arrived in July 2 in version 3.4. So Honkai Star Rail, a game that is known for power creeping, buffed characters like Silverwolf, Kafka, Blade, and Jingliu. Kafka, mind you, is a character that now is tier 1. Last I've checked, it was literally tier 1, a tier 0 unit because of these buffs. She's a tier 0.5. She just went down from tier 0. This was a 1.1 unit. You're telling me Hoyo can and Wuthering Waves can't give us buffs? What the hell are we talking about? It doesn't make much sense to me, and it is incredibly tilting and frustrating when you consider the nostalgia bait they're giving us from these characters, and you won't even power them up. I want to use them again. The whole point of nostalgia is you want to use the old stuff you used to play with, right? Yu-Gi-Oh does this the best. For example, you like Blue Eyes White Dragon or the Dark Magician. They give you new cards that you can mix with the old ones to make them a viable modern strategy, because those cards are old as shit. Those strategies are old as shit. So you need a revamp to them. They can just do the same shit here. All the Jinzhou characters are basically washed. Hold on, I'm gonna have to pull up some statistics over here to why that shit had me very disappointed. Let's look for the Jinzhou character. Shorekeeper is basically the Black Shores. Verena, I don't even think she's a Jinzhou character, but anyway, she's a 1.0 character. Thank God we still have healers that are good. Healers typically, like sustains, are just the best units in the game in terms of value. But let's look at DPSs and certain supports. Here it is. We have the man of the hour, Gion, the first ever unit. He's a tier 1.5 because of how Unga Bunga he is. And a lot of people say he's here because he's getting wheelchaired, but the same argument can be said to every character. So this is a bit of a W, all right? This is a bit of a W. But if we go down here to tier 2, it's all Jinzhou characters. The girl Jinsei, for fuck's sake. Changli as well, tier 2. Changliao. Oh, I thought it was supposed to be free, bro. What happened? This shit's tier 3. What the hell, boy? So Yinlin, oh man, don't even get us started on Yinlin. This character is not only washed, it's super washed. All the people that were saying Yinlin is gonna, we based it off Genshin Impact, and that she's gonna be the best unit to pick up in 1.0. We were all wrong, bro. Wuthering Waves has managed to prove us all wrong. And so when I look at this, when I look at how Honkai Star Rail went about buffing old units, even standard banner units, because I think now they're even buffing something like Welt. Where is he? There he is. We have something like Welt, a standard banner character, still being considered tier 1, just coming back from the depths of hell. Sealy as well, like she was buffed too. I think she just went down or something like that, but I think in the time of buff, she was pretty decent. Acheron also is like an old unit. She's tier 0.5 again. Obviously, some of these characters require a new character to make them good, but I think that's fine in Wuthering Waves. Like, it's totally fine if they want to do that because we need to pick up new units regardless. It's like, instead of just introducing just brand new DPSs, why not introduce supports that make characters, especially ones with good multipliers like Jinxie, viable again, especially when you consider now the whole thematics they're going with, which is to reintroduce these Jinzo characters, have them in the story as well, basically run an ad for them, and you're not even gonna give them buffs. Instead, the only appealing thing you're doing to make people pull is the free kickback. You get the kickback. The more you pull, you get a bunch of a kickback. Only in that banner. You do not get it in the weapon, and it's done on purpose because the weapon, obviously weapons like, for example, the String Master, stuff like that, are obviously more valuable than some of these units. So it just screams and shouts predatory and stingy. It has to be called out. This is not the Wuthering Waves we knew and loved. Obviously, there's a small change in direction in terms of the gacha aspect of the game and how predatory it has become. It is not, what we're saying here is only for that particular part of the game. The game in itself still slaps. It's a top solid 10 out of 10 experience. Any gamer can pick this game up and just enjoy the fuck out of it. It's just a damn good fucking solid video game. We all know this. But unfortunately, this solid video game is running a free-to-play live service model. And because of that, they monetize it through a predatory gacha system. And because of this, the predatory gacha system has to be tolerable enough where it doesn't come at the cost of the previously mentioned good aspects of what makes the video game slap. Because the reality is, the best way to keep playing this live service model in the way their formula is applied is to get new units. You have to. You have to keep getting new units. And the way they're doing it is I don't know, it's like, it feels very strange. Like the fact that we still ain't getting free weapon pulls in the login event is super weird to me. It's super weird. I mean, in Honkai Star Wars Zone Zero, you just get this universal 10 pull that you can use in either weapon or character. You can only get these in the standard ones. What? Why can't I just... Anyway, it just super weird. Should have been 5-5-5, or if you ask me, should have been 10-10-10. That way they could have really set themselves apart. But yeah, the free-to-play experience is becoming incredibly hard, and it has to be called out as such. And when you consider some of the predatory practices they're doing now, with the example of the new banner of these old units, it begs into question just how, let's just say, generous Wuthering Waves is becoming, because I don't think it's that generous anymore, unfortunately. Apparently, we got our man Paulino here, GHP, shouts out to you, my man. He asked the question, did Wuthering Waves become too good to criticize? And there was this other video I also wanted to add to here, but it has since been privated, and it was a video from this man, Analytical Vibes. If we go over here to his channel, you will notice that he has been making a little bit of videos going, I can't keep defending this. Arknights needs to get a grip. NTE needs to get a grip. I can't keep defending this. And he made one for Wuthering Waves as well. Now, from what we can see here, let's click on the Arknights one, for example. All right, so there it is. Positively well received. Great. Next, we have NTE. Okay, so there's some criticism here, but all in all, a lot of people are open to criticism. I remember the video that he privated. It was 50% dislike ratio. Bro could not live with that and just had to private it, because I think he mainly covers Wuthering Waves, but has since expanded to different gachas as well. The sad reality is no other community is as aggressive to constructive criticism to their game more than the Wuthering Waves community. This right here proves it. It's right here before us in 4K. This is surprising to me, because the very thing that made Wuthering Waves what it is today, because a lot of y'all forget about buggering waves, the optimization issues at the start. We tend to, like, people forget, like, hey, once you weren't the shit. You weren't always the shit. It's through people's constructive criticism that the game became what it is today. It's through people's support that the game became what it is today. Now, I understand for a lot of wuwa fans, you guys have been playing defense because you guys are just chilling, minding your own business, and you had a bunch of Genshin boys just coming at you for no reason. They just hating on your asses. So, like, you're always on the defense. You on spawn, the moment you've started playing Wuthering Waves and interaction with its community, you are on defense. You have been forced into becoming aggressive because the very people that were coming at you were aggressive for no apparent reason. So you fight fire with fire. Understandable. But I feel like the war is technically over, because the verdict is here. Wuwa wins. It's just a better video game in all aspects. But some things are starting to change. And those changes are the very thing that now people are complaining over there in Genshin Impact 2, which is stinginess, the way they're doing predatory practices, a little not too well. So, what? You're becoming the very problem you're complaining about. Like, you're doing the same shit them boys do. So, what the hell are we doing over here? So, really, when I look at this, it really breaks my heart. It really does, because when have we in the Wuthering Waves community became the very thing we complain about? When did that happen? I feel like us keeping and pushing for and giving good, proper, constructive criticism to things that are clear issues that are not pro-consumer only benefits the game. Devs should listen to that type of stuff so that they will remain predatory, they will keep doing their thing, but it needs to be tolerable and moves with the times. It needs to keep improving. There needs to be a semblance of improvement for us to tolerate some of the stuff they're still doing. Otherwise, it becomes incredibly hard to keep just turning a blind eye to what is clearly, well, let's just say, taking advantage of, well, you. Because it is. Let's not sugarcoat it. These games are made to take advantage of a loneliness epidemic. This was literally the sales pitch the Dawei has pushed onto investors. That's literally what they're doing. And plus, they're using that very thing to monetize the fuck out of it, whether it's through gameplay and also, well, characters. Because, that's where the void you have is like you want to feel like you interact with something. And yeah, they're doing that. NGE is doing it the worst because now that shit is a dating sim, and other gachas do that too. But you get what I'm trying to say. The fact is, these gacha companies are not your friends. They don't have your best interest in mind. They have their own best interest in mind. But it's totally fine. We just want to meet them somewhere in the middle. Like, yeah, sure, whatever. That's what Corpa does. But meet us at least somewhere in the middle where at least it's more tolerable. Because right now, I'll be real, it's becoming very hard to tolerate some of the practices Wuthering Waves is doing when it comes to their predatory practices. But in terms of the game, we're eating pretty damn good, I'm not gonna lie. So I wanted to watch this because apparently this one's gone, so we're gonna have to watch just this. I wanted to watch both, I'll be honest, but well, tough luck. All right, so without further ado, we're gonna have to talk about how the Wuthering Waves community is unfortunately becoming the very problem it has set out to destroy. If you enjoy this type of content, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to not miss any updates.
I guess I better go subscribe to VXV Gacha.
So after I made this video, I've been thinking about this topic. Did Wuthering Waves become too good to criticize? And that basically comes from some of the points that I brought up in that video, and also some of the comments that I got.
Wait, what? 10 Primo Gems has been transferred to your account. Have a nice day. See, this is what I'm talking about. There it is right here, right off the bat. It's a bunch of Wuthering Waves fans that have been aggressively, they got used. They have been conditioned into thinking that any criticism is up from this Hoyo fan. It makes total sense, because when you think about it, the way the Wuthering Waves community is behaving now makes total fucking sense. It does. They have been conditioned into running defense from one party, and of course, every time they see aggression, since they didn't have any positive constructive criticism for a long time, and the only criticism they see is from a Hoyo, well, from the Hoyo boys, well, so they're just gonna start assuming that every criticism comes from the Hoyo boys. So therefore should be dismissed because it's dishonest. Like it's just aggressive and bad for the game, because they know that those people want the worst for the game. There it is right there. They immediately assume 10 Primo Gems. Jesus.
Comments that I got, because a lot of people were saying that, in other words, I was kind of nitpicking. And honestly, I tend to agree. Some of the points that I brought up were indeed nitpicks.
Well, nitpicks can also be issues, because we strive for the game to be as best as it can. It needs to be as best as it can. And the nitpicks are the final details, the final touch. It's like in a code. Why these games also have big ass storage. The reason why they have big ass storage is because they didn't do the fine tuning at the end. It's like, okay, the game's ready. Fuck them, just let them. And we don't want to, take care of all this storage shit. There's a reason why they could do it now. Why couldn't they do it at the start of the game? Why didn't Wuthering Waves take care of the storage issue right off the bat? Well, no, because why do that? Because our manpower is, busy doing other things. So I could just push it out. They can deal with it. That doesn't seem like our problem. But through nitpicking, through letting them know that, hey, yo, we have a bit of a storage issue here, they did something. Well, it took 3 years though. That's We got to talk about, reacting too fast.
Also, there were a few things that I completely forgot to mention in that video. For example, story log progression. If you get a new character, you still need to progress through the story to unlock some of the materials needed to level them up. Or
Oh, they just fixed that in 3.5. They just fixed that.
at least get far enough to be able
So that was actually positive criticism. So basically, wait, well, hold on. If people came at you for that take, well, they were wrong because the devs were with you. The devs literally proved you right. The devs were like, yeah, he's got a point. All right, let's just do it. Yeah, because the new game experience is incredibly difficult for new players. That they don't have the new zones unlocked. So what they did now is that the moment you get a character or something, you can just open up everything, which is a positive.
to buy those materials from the shop. And even after you unlock the shop, you can't always buy everything immediately. Most times you need to wait multiple weeks before you can get enough materials to fully max out a character.
Which
So
is the point of the
that's
game.
definitely a valid criticism. Some events are also story locked, and
Well, hold on. If you're talking about the length of time you need to level up a character, that's just their formula. Because what the fuck else are you gonna do that's progression in the sense of progression, if not for that? Ain't dick to do.
yeah, those were some of the things that I forgot to mention before. But even the nitpicking comments, when you ran out of all of these critiques, they become kind of valid because you want your game to strive towards perfection. So if some of those
There it is. Perfect. Hey, my man. There it is. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. It's like, okay, my car is good. Well, hold on. Let me make sure. Let me give it a wash. Let me add some of the let me add the Bluetooth. Let me do some of this stuff, right? Some of the details to make it as best as possible.
you want your game to strive towards perfection. So if some of those things are fixable, then why not call it out? Like, unless they are literally
Exactly.
unfixable, I don't see a reason to not call it out. But going back to the main point, did Wuthering Waves become too good to criticize? Or maybe that's not the right way to put it, because I don't think the game literally became too good to criticize, but I do think Wuthering Waves reached a certain point where criticizing it became a lot harder, because when you try to criticize Wuthering Waves today, you really need to dig deep. There isn't really that one big issue anymore that everybody can point at and agree is bad, or at the very least, there are a lot less of them. But
I've seen this some of the comments actually. Oh, so you didn't get your quality of life, so now you're mad and think this is lackluster. Well, see, the others did. And so when it comes to a matter of perspective and respecting others' perspective, it's not that big of a deal. It's just that people are very emotional about it, and people are quick to respond and try to dismiss an emotional response to people's own perspective, which is a huge issue that we have, well, in the internet as a whole, really, because people just look for ways to affirm their own biases so that way they can reinforce their own biases and feel better about themselves, as this is the proper thing to think about whatever. And when it's challenged, people are very quick to be defensive and aggressive, because it's not necessarily against you, the person that's saying what they don't like. It's mainly about themselves, because it puts into question what they believe is absolute. And a lot of people react very poorly and aggressively when that is challenged. You just held up a mirror to them where you challenge their thought process, and a lot of people don't like that. People that are insecure, to be very specific, it's insecure douchebags that are just they just need to keep getting validation to prove that they know it all, and that's just pathetic and sad, to be honest. Understandable, but I understand why you want to get that. Oh, that'd be nice. Unfortunately, the world is a little more complicated than that, where I think the best way to go about it is to go, I know nothing, and I'm always striving to learn as much as possible. That's the beauty of the macro level we live in. Shit, even at the micro level, I mean, some of the microscopic world is like, holy shit, there's so much going on. It's crazy.
when the game launched, that wasn't the case. We had the lack of tuners, echo upgrading, all the excessive clicking when trying to upgrade echoes. We had things that pretty much everybody agreed were issues.
I think those are still issues. Am I crazy? Those are still issues. I think it's just that now, because you managed to play for a longer period of time, you've managed to accumulate more resources through events and stuff. I feel like the problem is still there. Where the fuck is the echo reset thing? Like, are we just gonna keep dismissing that shit too? I forgot to mention that at the start of the video. The ecosystem it still blows. Like, they introduced the transducer, and that shit's still expensive regardless of our criticism towards it. The devs didn't listen there. So what the fuck? Are we gonna defend that too? The hell? No, that's bad. Look, wuwa is doing some good things, but some things are just wrong. Hey, you're doing this wrong. That's good. Keep at it. This is wrong. This is wrong, though. We fix that, we'd appreciate if you would. People don't realize yet, these Kuru bots are friendly firing. You guys are literally friendly firing because of a preconditioning Hoyo shills have done. Seriously. You guys are friendly firing at us when all we're doing is being nuanced and critical when you have to be critical over certain practices that in details within the game. That's it. And those benefit us. It's pro-consumer. It benefits the majority of the player base. You are literally friendly firing. Relax. Okay, your KD's all just friendlies, man. Relax.
Most people would agree with you, but today it's different because most of the things that you can criticize are things that almost every gacha game already does. And that's where the things get interesting, because at that point, is it really a Wuthering Waves problem or is it a gacha industry problem? That's the question, because even the issues that Wuthering Waves shares with other gachas are usually handled better than in a lot of those games. If you look at the mainstream gacha market right now, Wuthering Waves is competitive in basically every category. Sure,
Yes.
you can point out specific things. Maybe Honkai Star Rail gives out more characters. Maybe ZZZ has better relic or artifact management system. But from what I've seen, the cycling gear is definitely more
The reason why a lot of people don't complain much about getting free characters in Wuthering Waves is because you only need 3 to play. You don't need 4. Like when Honkai Star Rail gives 1 for free, it makes total sense. Shangri-La was obviously a response, started the game, they want to win you. Sure, great, that makes total sense. But the reason why a lot of players stopped whining and asking for a free character is because it doesn't necessarily matter. Completing a team is easy, especially when you consider how universal the supports in terms of healer are. So Shorekeeper, we use Shorekeeper for at least a year or so now. You can still use her, by the way. Like, I'm just saying, she was the best. Now we have Mornier and Chisa for certain teams. Chisa, sure, you can just dismiss that. Mornier is more than enough. Mornier is basically the 3.0 Shorekeeper. That's it. You only need 2 more slots to complete a team. Mornier will stand the test of time. So that's 1 team. And Shorekeeper is obviously something you always want to use. That's the 2nd team. So basically, you only need 4 characters to complete 2 teams. That's very important to keep in mind. Like, that's a huge W Wuthering Waves ain't getting praised enough for, in my opinion, because the game feels deep enough and well enough through just 3 units. That's very important. Where one might even argue that because of this very structure, the lack of freebies start to make a little bit of sense. The problem starts where you realize that the power creep is getting a little too fast, in my opinion. There's Amy, of course, now she's, I think, the best character, hands down. There's Hayuki as well. Then you start to quickly realize every character needs their own built-in 5-star. You can't just use these generic supports. For example, I think at some point Honkai Star Rail was Ruanmei, Tingyun, and Huehue. You can just run these 3 with any single DPS. That's not necessarily the case in Wuthering Waves. You need the 2nd best support. Linnae is as good of a character design in Wuthering Waves, in my opinion, as possible. I love Linnae. She's very generic. Any DPS loves her. Any team loves her. Huge W. But the fact is, for example, a character like Carthathea, you need Chikona, or else you're screwed. And you need the weapon as well, or else you're screwed. That's a very predatory team. Next, we have, I think there was a... What was her name again? Sigrika. Sigrika requires Chiyuan. You need that guy, or else she just falls flat. Azani requires the Phoebe, or else she falls flat. Well, they don't play the best, all right? Just before some Zani mains start coming at me, relax. She just doesn't play the best. I'm pretty sure the game has skill expression. That's just not the majority of the player base, because most of the player base are kind of like me. You know, we're just casuals, for crying out loud. I don't even think I've ever managed to do a run with Zani, for crying out loud. So, yeah, just look, it's very hard for some of us, man. Some of y'all are too good at the game, but that's not the norm. That's some of y'all. For the most of us, it can be tricky, man. Shit. It's a compliment to you, if anything.
convenient there. And if you're into that, like me, some people would say that ZZ has more fan service. So sure,
Yes,
there are individual things that other games do better, but they are usually very specific things. Because
Yes.
when you look at the overall
Because every game has its own niche, so
package, Wuthering Waves is competing at the highest level, which
It is.
is why most criticisms today end up becoming either personal preference or nitpicking. Not because the game is perfect, but because most of the major issues have already been fixed. And recently, the Cyberpunk collaboration only reinforced that feeling. So I recently finished the story, and even before finishing it, I was already seeing people saying that the collab was really faithful to the Cyberpunk IP. It was just really overall well made. And after playing it, I will say the first half was very cool when it comes to the interactions between the characters from
Yeah, oh yeah,
Cyberpunk
that was
and the
good.
characters from Wuthering Waves.
100%.
But the real juice is in the second half. That's the real part that, in my opinion, is more made for Cyberpunk fans.
Yes.
And it's overall a good build-up and a good payoff. But yeah, even the character designs are pretty well made. You can tell that a lot of care went into making these characters.
Yes.
Even small details show that, for example, Lucy's agile animation, you can immediately tell that they understand what kind of character they're working in. They didn't just throw cyberpunk characters into Wuthering Waves and call it a day, they actually put effort into it. They also gave Rebecca away for free.
This is a huge W, by the way. Thank God.
And she's not just some throwaway character, she's actually
Could you imagine if Rebecca wasn't free? How the fuck are we supposed to afford the 3.5 units then? We're just screwed. Like, we're mega screwed.
a really good unit, and depending on what happens in the future, she might end up becoming even more valuable. So when I look at the direction this game is going,
I hope that be the case. I really hope so.
honestly, it just looks good.
Because I think that's just a positive for Wuthering Waves, period. But I don't think Rebecca is going to be free to obtain later. So I don't know how that's going to go. You know what? Never mind. I don't think they're going to make her viable as much. That's just what I think.
Only thing that really
I don't see
worries
their-
people
I don't
right
see the
now is
incentive for
power
them.
creep. But even then, that's more of a future concern. It's what
Yeah, unless they want to fight power creep. Yes, like it is. Like unless they want to fight power creep, I don't think so.
happen issue, not a what is happening issue. Because if you look at the game right now, the character balance is actually pretty solid overall. Sure, some characters age like milk, that's normal, but you can also find examples that go against power creep argument. For example, Encore. In some Tower of Adversity scenarios, Encore can actually outperform Camellia because of quick swap teams. And honestly, seeing a standard banner character outperform limited characters in certain situations is crazy. That's not something you normally see in gacha games. So even the power
You know what they should do if they don't want to buff old units? They should just make them like a fourth slot, like a support unit. They should just make a fourth slot like a support unit, and that's it. Like you don't get to use their ult and stuff, but like you get to just use E's or stuff like that because they're so washed. Like at least they can help you a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Makes them a little bit more valuable for extra chip damage. They could do that.
So even the power creep discussion isn't as clear cut as some people make it sound. However, after making this whole script for my video, I've seen that the recent TOA has had some complaints about HP inflation. So
Yes.
again, it's another common gacha thing. This is not a Wuthering Waves thing,
Yeah.
but I just want to really say that I haven't played it yet, but regardless, if they don't give you buffs to compensate for that HP inflation, I think you should 100% give the feedback to Kuro, call it out, and say that you're not happy about this change. So yeah, a bit of a tangent here.
It's not a problem of HP inflation. Like if it's the norm, that's fine. Just make sure the old units can at least get certain buffs, even at the individual level where they buff the characters, make them more valuable, really, even to pull forward, like what we said at the start of the video, where it enables people to keep up with this. That's it. Like imagine they go, let us buff the old units. There's HP inflation, but you know what? Those old units, well, now they're really, really good. You can actually fight off against that HP inflation. Not as good as the new units, of course, but you can do it. I don't know. That'd be pretty cool if you ask me.
Because it's really important to call out before it becomes an even bigger problem than it already is. And now coming back to the video, then you have Lucilla, a character that besides supporting Glacier Shave, she also supports echo damage teams. And she's also not directly power creeping existing supports because she kinda fills a different role, has a different playstyle, and there's space for Q1 on your account if you have 2 or more echo DPS characters, which is exactly how these characters should be designed.
Exactly.
So once again, the overall direction of the game just looks really good, and that's why I think the statement Wuthering Waves became too good to criticize, while not 100% true, it's also not crazy to say. But
Yeah.
I think it reached a point where most of the remaining criticisms falls into one of 3 categories: personal preference, nitpicks, or problems that affect the entire gacha genre. And that's a very different situation from where the game was at launch, because 2 years ago people were asking if Wuthering Waves was going to survive. Today we're debating
Of course
whether
you can.
there are enough problems left to criticize in the first place.
Well, we do have enough problems. It's just that people are, when they do voice those problems, they're forced into privating their own videos. I feel like that's where a lot of the problems we have right now are at. Yeah, it's more of a predatory / community problem, but not inherently the video game itself, if that makes any sense. It's some of the dev practices, not all of them. Again, I'm choosing my words as carefully as I can. Some. All right, just making sure. And of course, the community's preconditioned aggression through any type of criticism, which at some points is just friendly fire, bro.
Honestly, that's probably one of the biggest complaints you can give a live service game. Anyways, those are my thoughts. If you want to see some of the other criticism that I talked about before, you can check out my previous video, and I'll see you in the next one. Also, don't forget to subscribe and join our Discord. And
Hey, here you go, man. Here we go. So yeah, there it is, man. There it is. Unfortunately, he didn't mention the community side, which is understandable. He just wanted to lock into the game itself, but we're here. This is what we do. All in all, like it's like I said at the start, video game wise, just Wuthering Waves just fucking slaps. Like we said with 10Z and all that stuff. Like everybody will just play Wuthering Waves and really just say the truth about it, which is just a very good, solid video game. But the reality is, when you consider some of the predatory practices that has been unfolding before our eyes, it's very hard to just turn a blind eye to and must be called out so that hopefully the devs can do what Kuro devs do in true Kuro devs fashion, where they listen to hopefully stay their hand a little bit in some of the things they do, or if they want to do it, to do it right. I don't mind them re-rolling and doing all this incentives to pull on old units, but I think the incentive would have made total more sense if they had buffs. Without buffs, it just seems predatory and dumb as shit for the uninitiated. Players will go, oh, well, I already got a 10 pull, so that's already 10 in the pity. Well, let me just get this character I really like. But they don't even know that the character is washed as fuck. So, yeah, and also it's heavily emphasized, like, you can't even get the free 10 pull in the goddamn weapon banner for those reruns. Super weird, super predatory. It just, oh my God, like, what are we even doing there, bro? So, yeah, no, I think whilst, again, wuwa, amazing game, unfortunately, some of the predatory practices we've seen recently, we just have to talk about it. This is obviously a non-issue for non-free-to-play players, but for free-to-play players or free-to-play plus players like myself, it's an issue. It really is an issue, especially when you consider freaking rectifier users need their weapons. So you got to get them the weapon, and then you have friggin' 50-50 ruining your pulls. It's like, fuck, this is annoying. When you look at the future, like we have a huge titles and anime titles coming in that are completely free to play, and you just grind for everything and stuff. Obviously, they're going to introduce monetization to make it easy, but it's there. NGE also, no 50-50, stuff like that. Like it's good. Those are good systems. Why can't we have them over here too? It doesn't make much sense. But yeah, anyway, I mean, people's get used to something, they're familiarized with it, and people when you get familiarized with something, it's very hard to let go of some of those things, unfortunately. But we'll see. I hope. Let's see how many dislikes we can get on this one too. So we dared to criticize, to give some constructive criticism. Oh, Nelly. I'm pretty sure they will, guys. I feel like I've been as nuanced and as fair as I can be in my wording and everything, and I'm pretty damn sure just through the thumbnail or title, etc., people are just gonna pull up just to dislike and pull out. Like that's I'm pretty sure they're gonna do just that. But here's to hoping the Wuthering Waves community can actually rationalize what I'm just saying, wake up to the aggression they have been participating in, wake up to the preconditioning they have had all this time, and wake up to the realization that maybe, just maybe, this level of aggression, this level of defensiveness you have is actually turning against the very thing you're trying to defend. You're like the immune system attacking itself, attacking the body itself. We don't want the immune system to disappear. We need you. We need Wuthering Waves defenders, but we don't need them to be this aggressive and being biased to this extreme, where they just ignore everything. At that point, that's just friendly fire. Continue what you're doing, but stay your hand. Just as long as you're staying your hand a little bit, I think the space is better off of it. And also, the game we love would also be better off it. Yeah, those are my thoughts. Like, subscribe if you haven't already. Meeting you.